I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World and Financial Juneteenth, and I wanted to take a second to talk about something that represents what I think is a recent revelation in the case of McKinney, Texas, and the black children who were attacked by Officer Eric Casebolt. In case you don't know, I've been on Casebolt's case for several days. I plan to stay on it for a while. I hear that this man is nervous. He's hiding because he's afraid that people want to hurt him, and I don't blame people for wanting to hurt him because you're out here trying to bully a child, and when you bully a child, it is the job of the men and the women who care about that child to stand up for that child and let our children know they are protected from these threatening forces that exist to harm them. One of the things that I can clearly say about the Casebolt situation is that he never could have got away with doing that to a little white girl. Can you imagine if that had been a black police officer sitting on the back of a little 14, 15-year-old white girl with both of his knees on her back? Can you imagine the outrage? I mean, that black man would be made into a pariah. He'd be in prison. He'd be all over national TV. And so anybody who justifies this man in his behavior, it's hard not to call them a racist because I can't understand why anybody would think that what he did was okay. If she was a hardened criminal, she had a weapon on him, or she was trying to harm somebody, I mean, really trying to harm somebody, maybe it makes sense, but based on what we saw, it does not. Now, if you notice, before the actual incident took place, there was a fight between a young black woman and an older white woman. And the older white woman had a friend who came to her aid. Her name happened to be Tracey Carver-Allbritton. And Tracey didn't just try to break up the fight. You saw the black kids trying to break the fight apart. But Tracey came in and was whacking the black girl in the head, hitting her in the head, and which again was it just added to the ridiculousness of the entire situation. Well, it turns out that she doesn't understand that she could easily be charged with assaulting a minor. The intelligent people on the internet were smart enough to say, okay, who are these women, and why weren't they arrested? Why weren't they questioned? Why weren't they in handcuffs on the ground with all the innocent black children who had been rounded up like cattle by Casebolt and some of his buddies? Well, it turns out that Tracey, they found out that she works with Bank of America, but she works for a company that contracts with Bank of America. So apparently she must somehow be directly affiliated with Bank of America in her day-to-day actions. And Bank of America actually went out of their way to say, okay, we need to investigate this because we really don't need any more racism allegations against us. Because if you don't know, Bank of America in 2011, they settled a lawsuit with the Justice Department for about $335 million, claiming that they had taken hundreds of millions of dollars from the African American and Latino communities for lending discrimination. Now, here's the thing. Albritton, Tracey, the woman I was just telling you about, she actually works with CoreLogic to create the data analysis and the criteria to determine who qualifies for loans and who does not. That obviously says that somebody who has such a racist mindset, or who would attack a young black girl and use racial slurs, which is another thing that Tracey was accused of doing, clearly she doesn't belong in that role. And so Bank of America, to distance themselves, they issued a statement saying we don't condone this, and et cetera, et cetera. And they found out that she worked for CoreLogic. CoreLogic let her go, probably to protect their relationship with Bank of America. And now she's on leave, on administrative leave. So that's not the same as being fired, but it certainly is progress in terms of attention being brought to the issue. Now, here's my final point on this, which is really interesting to me, is that there are a lot of white people who think this way. There are a lot of white people who support this kind of thinking, this kind of behavior. There are a lot of white people who saw what happened in McKinney, Texas, and saw nothing wrong with it because in their minds they saw the police as sort of being the superheroes to come in and help them round up these out of control Negroes, almost like a pack of wild animals that needs to be, lassoed and tied down and shot down if necessary. And these are our babies. This is why we have to be offended by this kind of thing, because it's not a coincidence that states like Texas have penitentiaries filled with black people. Many of those black people are either innocent or overcharged because they have police officers like this all over the place. So when you look at the case of Eric McKinney and you look at the case of Tracey Carver-Allbritton, let's not allow people to distance themselves and say, "Oh my goodness, I would never condone this racism." The only reason they're saying that is because it was caught on camera. The fact of the matter is that there are thousands and thousands and thousands of Eric Casebolts out here who think that it's okay to lasso down a 14, 15-year-old black kid and not do anything about it. Remember, there were 11 cops who were standing around Casebolt who watched this happen, who didn't see anything wrong with it or didn't stand up for these children as they were being assaulted by this police officer. It's almost like a man standing there watching another man rape a woman. If you stand there watching a woman get raped and you don't intervene, then you should be charged as well. So especially if you're sitting there holding her arms down while he does the rape, it's the same thing. These kids are being assaulted. These officers are helping him to control these kids and to basically violate their civil rights. So all these officers, as far as I'm concerned, are all guilty of being accomplices to a crime against children. Now, the issue with Allbritton, Tracey, being on the job every day, engaging in lending discrimination, whatever it is that she might do. Here's the thing. You can't disconnect the fact that there are thousands of people who think like her who are making these important decisions in corporate America. The reason that black people have the highest unemployment rate is because you have people like Tracey making hiring decisions all over the country. You have people like Tracey making lending decisions all over the country. So when you look at, for example, loans that come out of the Small Business Administration or loans that come out of banks, African Americans have the hardest time getting those loans, whether you're talking about loans for a house, loans for business, access to capital. Access to capital or lack thereof is one of the greatest discrimination issues that we have in the United States. White people have all the capital. They control all the wealth because for hundreds of years they've done exactly what Tracey does every single day in her life, which is to exclude black people from opportunity. Now again, I don't know exactly how Tracey makes her decisions or whatever the case may be, but the fact is that it's this kind of mindset that leads to us kind of being left out of America's economic pie, the economic pie that we built that other people stole, the one where people act like talking about reparations is like a sin or is taboo. I hear black people say, "Oh, you shouldn't talk about it because you won't get it," and then I hear white people say, "Well, the past is the past; it doesn't matter." Well, no, the past matters because your present was created by your past. So America, as it stands, with all of its economic inequality, where black people are down here, white people are up here, that was created by the past. So you can't talk about the present without talking about the past. The past gives birth to the present. You can't understand a child without understanding the DNA of its mother. So the fact of the matter, the point that I'm trying to get to here is this. This is not an isolated issue. They want you to believe it was an isolated issue. It's not isolated. It's only isolated by the fact that it was caught on video. This is a systemic issue. There are thousands and thousands. Every time you hear about an innocent black person getting out of prison after 30 years, I want you to take that and I want you to multiply it by 1,000. Every time you see a black person get beat on video, I want you to take that incident, multiply it by 1,000. Every time you see a corporation or an individual in a corporation getting caught discriminating against black people, I want you to take that one incident and multiply it by 1,000. Because I guarantee you that for every one time that we catch on camera or on record, there are at least 1,000 other cases out here that have occurred and have come and gone and nobody knew anything about it. There are black people in prison right now today, right as we speak, that we're not going to do anything about, that our president won't even pick up the pen to sign a document to at least reinvestigate their cases. No disrespect to the president, but what he can do with this ink pen is very, very powerful. There are thousands of black people in prison right this second, right as we speak, who don't deserve to be there, who were framed by men like Eric Casebolt, who were sent to prison for crimes they did not commit, or they were given sentences that were far in excess of what they actually deserve. And so I want you to just really think about that. So I don't want you to think small. We have to think big when we talk about dealing with racial inequality. You must take what's there and you must extrapolate it. Use inductive reasoning, not deductive reasoning. These are not isolated incidents. These are isolated symptoms of a systemic problem. So treat it that way, see it that way, and don't get caught up in the okie doke, because what they want you to do is they want you to say, "Oh, Eric Casebolt is bad, this lady is bad, and this situation was bad, but good thing that doesn't happen anymore." Well, no, the next time it happens, they're just going to make sure they cut off the camera before anybody catches it on film. And that's all I always want to share with you. I'm Dr. Boyce Watkins from Your Black World and Financial Juneteenth. Please take care. God bless. I'm gone. Peace.